Welcome to the Sun Today for the 19th of February 2022. Today we're going to do a quick update on the status of solar cycle 25. We'll start with taking a look at what I posted on Twitter earlier this morning, a general status of the Sun. It's remarkable how much information you can get on one sheet of paper. So we'll start with panel 1, which shows that the sunspot number increased slightly to an average of about 50. This is the NCDC, the Solar Influences Data Center in Belgium. Panel 2 shows that geospace is relatively quiet. The solar wind did increase slightly to 371 kilometers per second. Panel 3 shows the actual sunspots. This is an image from the Solar Dynamics Observatory HMI instrument. Unfortunately, 5 of the 7 regions seem to be decaying, and so that's why everything is so quiet at the moment. We have one new region emerging in the northeast. Panel 4 shows that the X-ray flux is also decreasing, which is not surprising when you have decaying active regions. And for the first time in 25 days, we didn't have a flare of C1 or greater. That breaks the longest consecutive run so far in solar cycle 25. We have had 10 weeks since the last spotless day, so I imagine those that are pushing the idea of a grand solar minimum are getting very nervous at the moment. However, we may have better times ahead. This is a composite image on the right here of the sun taken this morning. And there's something big coming over the northeast limb, at least we think it's big. It's right there. And we will only have to wait 1 or 2 days to see how effective this region is going to be. It's already brighter than any region on the surface of the sun, and it's still behind the limb. A week ago, I put this on Twitter showing the helioseismology image of the back of the sun, and there's this large dark area in the middle of the sun. Now, this over that time has moved towards our limb, and that's what we're beginning to see now. So it should be very exciting to see what this region looks like when it moves over the limb. We can get a pre-glimpse of what's going on from the Stereo spacecraft. That is orbiting about 32 degrees behind the Earth's orbit. So it's seeing slightly over the east limb. Now this image was taken 3 days ago and it's pretty much similar to what we're seeing, but you can see there's a large region there just coming over the limb as far as Stereo A is concerned. As soon as we get an updated image of that, I'll post it on Twitter. So the main question for today is, how is solar cycle 25 doing compared with solar cycle 24? I've done a little bit of analysis here, and it's a bit of a complicated plot, so it's going to require some explanation. I've plotted here the smooth sunspot number for the number of months since minimum for both solar cycle 24 and solar cycle 25. Solar cycle 24 is shown in blue, and you can see it rises fairly steadily over the first 2 years of the mission. Now, the smooth sunspot number is the monthly sunspot number averaged over 13 months. So by definition, it's about 6 months behind the current time. So the last point on solar cycle 25 is July of last year. That's shown in orange, and you can see all the way through this cycle so far, solar cycle 25 has been outperforming solar cycle 24 by about 23% on average. However, that average has been increasing since the last few months. Now, I've taken the ratio of those two and plotted them here in red, and I've got the scale for that on the right-hand side of the plot. And you can see it's basically always been above 1. There was this one large bump back in about 6 months into the cycle that solar cycle 25 had. But ever since then, it's been increasing steadily, and we're now at about 1.25 times solar cycle 24. And as I say, I believe that rate is accelerating. So it seems we have a much more active cycle than solar cycle 24. But the question is quite how active. So what can we conclude from all of this? At the moment, the sun is relatively quiet, but we do go through quiet times on the sun, even at solar maximum. So this is nothing to be particularly perturbed about. We have a lot of decaying sunspot regions and fewer flares. That's not surprising either. We have a new large region coming from behind the northeast limb that may change all of that in a few days' time. So far, solar cycle 25 is outperforming solar cycle 24 by nearly a quarter. It implies that solar cycle 25 maximum will be about 140 to 150. That's still an average or slightly below average cycle, which goes to 170, but that's still implying that solar cycle 25 will be bigger than solar cycle 24, which puts a kink in any of these projections of a grand solar minimum. So that's it for today. Until next time, stay safe and goodbye.